Hi everyone, I am Bree Hillier. Thanks for joining us today. I am sitting down with Steve Gunderson, who is running for Montana Senate District 1. And we are going to just have a conversation, and I'm going to ask some questions, and we're just going to get to know Steve a little bit. So, my first question for you is, how did you get started in legislature?
Thank you for doing this for one thing. This is something that doesn't get done an awful lot, so it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Do you remember the log hall? Have you ever heard of that?
I think so.
Okay, that was kind of the Great Northwest Log Hall was kind of the start of everything. I was working with Communities for a Great Northwest and actually just an advocate for natural resource extraction, timber logging, timber management, I should say, logging, mining, all the things that we used to do,
Right.
used to
Right.
underline.
Right.
And being that advocate, and then you start adding in that I've been a business owner, manager for 35 years, about, gave me a really good look at how things should run, how we could look at things differently is probably the best way. So I actually worked my tail off to help try to get the Montanor in.
Yeah.
We started the MPAC, the Montanor Positive Action Committee. We made a lot of noise. We talked to a lot of higher echelon people, the federal government. We worked with the different mining companies, and that gave me a lot of insight. So when you start looking at it, being a business person, I've got that public two-way working relationship. On the advocate side, I was working with the people that were making decisions, both at the federal level, state level, or county, all of that. And just kind of put me in a unique position. When I was first approached to run for the legislature, it was an emphatic no. And
Why does
I,
everyone say that
I
when we talk
walked
about
away.
it?
That's a pretty tough ask. It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Maybe add a little alcohol or a coffee, whatever you want, but you need to think that one over. And I
Right.
did. I probably spent about a month really thinking about it. They come back and ask me again. I said no. And I just happened to be going on vacation with my family. We were going to Maui. And I remember sitting in Maui thinking, I could be making a difference. I could be that person that helps make decisions, that keeps different things happening to our area that shouldn't be. Picked up the phone, called Mike Cuff, and said, "Hey, Mike, I'm ready to do it." And so I basically signed up via computer with the SOS when it opened and filed. And that was in 2015,
Wow. Okay.
and been on the roller coaster ever since. And when I say roller coaster, I mean one that goes upside down, inside out,
Yeah.
around and around.
Yeah. The super exciting kind.
Super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah. That's awesome. I remember when I very first moved here, like, I'm pretty sure it was like 2011. And I remember seeing those Montanor signs, like, everywhere, all the time. And when I moved here, I had no understanding of what those meant until, slowly over time. And it's really it's important.
Well, if you think back, where did you see those signs?
All of the local businesses.
And you just hit the key word,
Yeah.
local businesses. So this isn't just a citizen type of advocacy that we were working with MPAC. This was actually businesses saying, hey, we want to work. We don't want welfare. And that's one of the little signs, work, not welfare. We never asked for anything other than a job.
Right.
My most favorite quote is Ronald Reagan, and he said, the best social program is a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Yeah. That is very true. That's a good one. In your opinion, what do you think makes you the best candidate for this seat?
Well, if you look at my flat forehead, I've been there, I've
Right.
seen it, I've got the t-shirt a couple times. I would really probably say experience is probably one of the words I would use. Motivation, being an entrepreneur and a businessman. I'm self-made, I'm self-motivated, and that's something that you really, really have to be in the legislature. You can't just sit back and let life go by, because it will.
Right.
And it's gone that quick. And the experience part, I think a person builds up over the sessions. Finding out what not to do is probably the bigger list.
Right. I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing you learn, turn your cell phone off. Because
Oh, I can't
in a
even.
committee
Yeah.
of 25 people, if your cell phone goes off, the next morning you're required to bring donuts for everybody.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
that gets to be a little expensive.
I bet.
If it's on the house floor, that's 100 people, so that gets a little expensive.
Gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Have you had to learn that lesson, or have you been?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
Okay. Understandable.
The biggest part of that job is actually very repetitious. It's demanding. And there's a lot of people that can't take that pressure. And it's a pressure cooker at times. I made the decision to move into a leadership position. Once I'd put my time in the first session, I moved up into a chairmanship of natural resources. And that takes a special person too. And I think you and I have talked about it before. If you don't have a sense of humor, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
And you have to be that person that's even-handed. You have to make decisions that are rational. I've sat in a committee hearing that lasted from 7 o'clock at night till almost 10. And we actually broke and had pizza brought in so the committee could eat, because that was getting way late.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't know they went that late.
Oh yes, that was pretty common. And the room was full to the point where we had overflow of people wanting to speak pro and con on that bill. And what I normally would do is take a show of hands, okay, who's pro, who's con, divide them up, and figure, okay, we're going to take 2 hours to do a hearing. And by hour 3, you can't turn anybody away. You can't say no.
Right.
So what we usually do is try to get to a point where, rather than everybody give the same testimony over and over,
Right.
is say, me too.
Right.
Here's my name, here's where I'm from. You've at least got on the record.
Right.
And it's amazing how many people take offense to that when you say, just say me too and give me a name and a city. And I understand that you want to give testimony, but we've already been at this 2 hours.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
We need to move on, but I want to hear everybody's voice.
Right.
And oftentimes I was given kudos for trying to be as even-handed, I guess is probably the best word, giving both sides equal time, to have their voices heard. If you can't be judicial accomplishing that,
Right.
you're not going to be very popular with people.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I could see the taking offense to not getting to, give your testimony because everybody else, like 17 people, just said the same thing. But to that person, that is their testimony.
Mhm.
That is everything to them. Their words, So I relate to that. I get that.
Try to make sure that doesn't happen to get 17 of the same thing. And again, that's the part that the chairman has to step in and say, excuse me, but we've heard that testimony over. If you've got something new, please tell us. If you don't, then me too, and let's
Right.
move on.
Right.
And it's amazing how many people want their voice heard, and how do you delve out time?
Right. Yeah.
To be a
It's so
mimic
limited.
of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest job of a chairman. And if people think that that's not a leadership position, it definitely is, because you steer the committee, you steer the testimony, you steer questions. The people can come in and comment, but you also have a U-shaped hearing room, and you've got committee members that have questions that you want to bring out of either people that have given testimony to ensure that the testimony they're giving is correct
Right.
or validated. So yeah, it's a tough job. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I definitely could see how you would have said no at first when you were asked, because that sounds like a lot. Okay, another question that I have is, what do you see right now as the top 3 issues facing this district?
Well, that's a pretty simple one. It's actually been my mantra from day one, and it's jobs, jobs, and jobs. If you don't have any jobs, nothing else really matters. I mean, you have to have employment. What's the biggest exporting item that we have in Lincoln County? Our youth. How do we keep them? Jobs. How do we lose them? No jobs.
Right.
So there's a very fine line there where without jobs, we have nothing. We've tried bringing in things, and the mine is probably the first thing that comes to mind. And when you're fighting an uphill battle constantly to get the Montnor mine out, the Libby exploration project, re-permitted, because that was a fully permitted project that created a 14,200 foot adit that was 3,000 feet from the ore body. And then to try to bring it back after it was put to bed for about a decade, it was supposed to be 2 to 3 years to get it re-permitted. That was 20 years ago. 20. Yep. And I actually worked at the mine site for a number of years. I built the whole containment fence system and employed quite a few people up there. And then we did the security up there for almost 17 years, I think. 15, 16, somewhere around in there. It's having way too much fun then. And right now, we've gotten to the point where Judge Malloy made a ruling and said, it's going to happen. But to make it happen, you've got to break it into 3 pieces: exploration, production, and reclamation. Exploration, all that really is to continue to deep water, get down to the 14,200 face, rehab, and to do all the hydrological and geological testing that needs to be done to answer all the questions that the environmentalists are asking,
Right.
or telling us that we're going to destroy all the water. Well, there's 3 decades of water quality testing that basically has been tossed out, and they started from scratch. Because that's what Judge Malloy said, break it into 3 pieces. So what Hecla did is they took the exploration part of it, renamed the project Libby Exploration Project. They started from scratch with water quality everything like that. They rewrote the EIS. They're getting a new MPDES, which is a stormwater permit from the state, basically starting from scratch. Guess what? The environmentalists turn right around.
I was just going to say,
Use
hard to say.
the same old,
Oh,
tired BS that they've brought up the whole time.
yeah.
So I guess I need to ask a question. Do they really want to know?
Right.
Do they really want to know? If they don't, then they'll continue doing what they're doing. If they really want to know and they want scientific facts, they'll let the project go. But it's too much of a cash cow with our federal Equal Access to Justice Act that actually pays them to litigate when they win just even a small little portion of what they're litigating about. And they've created a cottage industry for that. And my take on this is the last gasp. I don't think they can go any further. If they take it to Judge Malloy, which they have, they filed suit, I believe Judge Malloy is going to look at the facts and say, my ruling was, here's what I'm asking you to do. Heckler turned around and did exactly what he asked to do. And that's not good enough for the environmentalists.
Right.
So how do we build jobs?
Right.
Get rid of the problem of paying out the nose through equal access to justice, actually using our technology that we've developed over the last 100 years. We don't mind like it's 1889.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Things have come a long way since then.
Come a long way. I mean, we don't even use the old Delene or whatever they were, carbide lamps. So things have changed. And all this is just a delay. And I think the inevitable is that Judge Malloy is going to say, hey, we've been here before for over 3 decades, multiple times. So I think we're done and let's move on. My understanding is that Hecla is going to continue doing what they need to do, dewatering, actually accomplishing things while the litigation is going on. So as long as Judge Malloy allows that, which I'm pretty sure he will, because again, Hecla has followed to the letter what he actually ruled to have happen. So
Yeah, I bet they are very, very cautious and careful just to make sure that everything can go through. Because, I mean, I know obviously mining is very important to our communities and our county, but there's other people that it's important to as well.
Well, and keep in mind the world, not just Montana, not just the U.S., the world is consuming more and more and more copper every year. Are we going to bring it from someplace that they have either no environmental laws, no human, children working in conditions that grown men die from? We do it, and we follow laws that have been set up to ensure that. And who's the environmentalist? I think it's us. I think we are the stewards of the land, and we require that they do it right. So that's, again, I keep going back to jobs. If you build a business, we'll use Montanore and Libby Exploration Project as an example. There's an excise tax. There's a tax on that material. Where's that go? Lincoln County.
Right back to where it came from.
Montana, where it came from.
Yeah.
So by us moving forward with just the mine project, let's focus on that. That creates jobs, which every time you create a job up there on the hill, you create 3 to 5 down here in town.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to eat. Restaurants.
Yep.
People have to drive vehicles more, so you're going to have more tire shops, and it keeps cascading from there. So the more that we get back to our historic natural resource extraction economy, will be prosperous like we once were. Lincoln County was the most prosperous county in Montana for a long time.
That's so crazy to just to think about, like, how exciting it is to think about what could be, I mean, I think this could be a huge benefit. And to think about how many people had to leave here, like you said, because there are no jobs that could come home. That could come home because there will be jobs, even if it's not the mine. It could be, who knows where, somewhere else.
Well, and I talked to people that worked over at the Troy mine that have had to leave the area because the Troy mine was reclaimed totally by Hecla and with zero environmental impact. Might point that out. And those folks want to come back home to work. They don't want to shuttle all the way up to Admiralty Island in Alaska to work. They want to work at home. How many people could we bring? Again, automation's probably going to change the original number of people. Mining plan's pretty much the same. There are some slight deviations, but I think that's the first step. If we can stop that flow of our children, bringing them up through the schools, graduate them from high school, and they're gone.
Right.
That's our greatest resource right there. We ship it out on a regular basis. And that's one segment.
Right.
Lighting.
Right.
Now you got timber. You start going into timber management. Why do we have forest fires? Because we don't have any timber management.
Right.
Why do we have intense fires that get out and get away? Because we don't have loggers every 10 miles on a project working out there that just happen to hold a red card as a firefighter. So if something happens, they're right to take care of it. So again, it's a cascade effect that if we could pull ourselves over our bootstraps, get back to mining, get back to logging. I mean, we've got enough material up there to bring back a mill. This administration has actually opened up production to the point where we could have certainty to be able to bring back a mill that could employ more people. And again, the same group that keeps us from mining is keeping us from logging. We have a grizzly bear recovery going on. I say let's celebrate the recovery. We have more bears now than we've ever had. We've met that standard, and it's time to celebrate and say let's go back to the proper management, state management, and open up these areas. As a young guy growing up in Libby, I used to go up hunting with my dad up into the Yak, and we took my old 55 Chev pickup, drove all the way to the Canadian line. Okay, today to go up there, I can't get within 12 miles of the Canadian line because there's a gate.
Oh, is there? Okay.
And yeah, in fact, if you look at a map, they've actually gated off where Kelly Hunt or whatever they do to pull roads out. They actually have just very few roads going into the forest. You don't do a lot of gravel in the Yak anymore. And that's sad because how long does it take a firefighter to get to a fire if there's no roads, no accessibility? One thing I've learned from being in the legislature is that you can have all the air assets, you can have the hell base that we've got out here full of helicopters, but if it's far enough back off the beaten path, you can't fight it and stop it with a helicopter.
Right.
You slow it down,
Right.
but you can't stop it. This is starting to look a little bit like 1910, and we lost 3 million acres.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and again, what's changed? We don't have access back to those areas. We can't get firefighters in because the roads are either obliterated or Kelly humped, where they've got to take a cat and push it in and fill it in. Oh, wait, they haven't maintained the road. It's all grown up 4 to 8 inch trees.
Yeah.
So there's really no road prism. Or they've actually said that grizzly bears don't cross roads, so we're going to obliterate the road. And they take the whole road prism and pull it out. Some crazy things. And they call it science. But every time you've seen a bear, where has it been?
Yeah.
Oh, the only open place is the road.
Exactly.
Now, if you go take a trip up Tower Lake, if you want to scare yourself, go back in there and say, I'm going to go camping. As you drive in, and it's solid trees. You can't see 6 feet into the forest.
Yeah, and you just don't even know
what's going to happen if it burns.
Yeah.
You're not coming out that way.
Yeah.
And there's no other way because they've closed off all the roads around it. I mean, it's to the point where you're trapped. You're there. I'm at a point where I have somebody invite me up to Tower Lake to go fishing or something like that. I find something else to do.
Yeah.
It's scary.
That's wild.
And that's just one area that's close by that's actually used quite a bit for recreation.
Yeah, no, it is.
Take a trip up into the Yak. Try to go hunting. Can't hunt because it's so thick. The animals can't even make it through.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, no, that's a lot of perspective that I've never really. I mean, you think about it, but not really like, from
average person does it.
No, that's a very informed perspective. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, but what I think we need to do, and I think Libby's problem all stems from, we have a couple different problems. One is you have a group of people, one segment of people that don't want any development. They want Libby to be the Libby it was back in the 50s or the 70s and in that realm.
Right.
Then you have the people that are pretty much just happy with the way things are going. If there's change, it's not any big deal. And then you've got other people that are always trying to come up with something that keeps moving us into the future. And that does take development. So how do you get all three of those segments to agree on how to take care of an issue or a problem? One thing that comes to mind is trying to lead cats through a lightning storm. Not impossible, but very difficult.
Right.
We do need to zone. That's one of the big things. I think that there are some areas that should not be developed. There are some areas that are made for residential. There are some places that are made for commercial. And I think we sometimes have to make the hard decisions. And that's kind of a key ingredient of a legislator is making hard decisions. But we have to make those hard decisions to say, we need to develop this area. Or no, we don't need to develop this area. Or we need to leave this commercial to not allow any commercial into it. But you have to be really careful that you don't get into an issue of landowner A and landowner B. He's going to develop his land the way he wants to, but yet this guy's can't really say anything how he can develop it, and it's property rights. So that comes into the mix. I don't think there's an easy answer. In fact, I know there isn't an easy answer. Are there answers that a lot of people don't want to hear? Yeah. Definitely.
For sure, yeah.
And those are the hard ones where, you either you start moving into the future or you stagnate where you're at. I think that's what we're experiencing right now. We're stagnating. We have people moving into the area for a lot of different reasons, and that makes it more difficult because it's a beautiful place. And this is God's country. People want to be here, but they also have to be able to survive. So it goes back to jobs. But affordability and things like that, I think the legislature came up last session, which I sat out because I had to sit out to realign with Senator Koch as he was terming out. So that's the seat that I'm running for.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's really difficult when you try to talk to people and say, here's what we need to do, here's some ideas, and those ideas just get rejected. And again, we've got 3 segments, and I don't know if you're ever going to change the thinking of those 3 segments of people. And I made some hard decisions myself. It's just like I say, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Right. And I completely agree with your 3 segments because, I mean, we're seeing a lot of it like right now, especially, construction action happening over here, and people are like, oh my gosh, like, what are they doing? What are they going to do? And then other people are like,
Yep.
sweet, let's do it. It's just hard because, especially like because of Facebook specifically, I see the bird's eye view of both everybody just going. There seems to be no middle ground.
No, there isn't.
And it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Some people have to give, some people take. The other side, you got to give on another level and take on the other, but there never seems to be a way to bring all of that into line. And it's a difficult thing, and it's not just Libby. It's Montana as a state, and then it's actually the region, not just Montana. We're finding it all over the country. And I think the legislature, like I say, that Montana miracle, which is being fought in court, I think was the best decision to make. We'll just see how it pans out from here.
Right.
I mean, that's all we can do.
I feel like a lot of people look at politics and people think that it's just very black and white. And I feel like there's so much more that people who, I'm obviously not involved in politics, but I do feel like a lot of, kind of like having to meet in the middle with people, even on Facebook, is that, there is no black and white. Like there are some times where you have to meet in the middle. And I feel like that is a lot of how politics works.
But I guess I could make one comment on that. In going to Helena to the legislature, you find out a lot about yourself, but you also find out a lot about everybody else. And when you try working with somebody, you reach across the aisle, and I've done it. I've worked with probably my biggest nemesis. I'm calling that lovingly, because he's a great guy, and he says the same thing about me. We can work together, but we're on 2 different planes. Him and I sit down and developed a bill that was bipartisan, had nothing to do with Libby, really didn't have anything to do with natural resources. And it was about wildlife and actually making an option, keyword option, to utilize wildlife-friendly fencing on state lands that are leased out. And the reason is that we had a bill come through, and they were trying to push for fences that would not injure animals on the east side. That's kind of how it got started. Yeah. But we sat down one day and started talking, which was kind of odd in itself.
Right.
He came up with this and he said, hey, we should try writing a bill. Yeah, let's try that. So we did. Came up with it and got it into committee, and it was actually my committee, and passed it through, no problem. It got to the floor and went dead on arrival. And it was one of the landowners, ranchers, over on the east side. And he just emphatically said, I will not be forced to utilize this expensive fencing or anything. We could not convince him that it was optional. And he killed the bill. Just killed it dead. So there's times when we've worked together on different things. And that's just an example where even though you do reach out and try to work something out, it's possible that it's not going to fly. So if you pass something and I have somebody that makes comments that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, it's not an I, it's not a me. It's 149 people
Right.
bring into the fold in some form or fashion. You have to have a majority of them. And then one other person, the governor, because he can sign the bill and say, yeah, a great bill, or even veto it and say, it's done.
So even if it's been approved by them, if he doesn't like it.
I passed the bill all the way through House and Senate on bail bonds. It was vetoed by the governor due to input from the director of the agency that oversights the bail industry. He had no clue of what he was working with because it's such a technical type of business on the law side. You have the capability of going through and overriding that veto if you have, I believe it's 68 votes that come back in from both chambers. You can actually override it. I missed it by 6 votes.
Dang it.
So there was another one that got killed. But came back the next session and pretty much created a caucus or consortium of legislators and said, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let's show you what we're going to be doing. Here's why we're doing it. In my capacity, Sherry and I, my wife, actually ran Starlight Bail Bonds for 30 some odd years. And so we were very knowledgeable. And when we retired, we just basically stepped away from the business. Well, I'm used quite a bit to either, one, educate other legislators on the business, or to actually soundboard ideas that we want to bring to the legislature. Excuse me. And I'm working with the Montana Bail Association as well as the National Bail Association. And in fact, I was one of their speakers last spring at one of their meetings at the National Bail Association. And so, again, you find that niche
Right.
where
That
you've
makes a
got
lot
the
of
knowledge,
sense.
and then it's your job to push that knowledge out to get everybody on par, up to speed, and that's how you pass a bill. So again, there's no I, there's no
Right.
me. It's a team, and it's a very large team, and there are people that have opinions that don't quite align with yours,
Right.
and that flat forehead comes into effect, and you beat your head against the wall trying to figure out how you change somebody's outlook, how they look at an issue. So again, it's a challenge, but yeah, it's fun, challenging, but it's also, like I say, it's not an individual event. It's a team effort, and you have to work with a lot of people.
So actually, what you just said, that's kind of had a question pop into my mind. So it sounds like, I mean, I guess I never really considered how much knowledge of like understanding of laws and MCAs and different things like that, and being able to see both sides of those things. That's like a huge part of your job.
And it is, it is. But I'll make a clarification there. In the bowels of the Capitol, there's a gentleman that's been there for almost 3 decades. He's tried to retire a couple times, and we told him that no, can't retire. Yeah, you're not allowed to leave. And his mind is just an encyclopedia of the MCA. So if there's a question, can I do this? Is it legal? Is it constitutional? You trek your way down to his office and pose the question to him, and he gives you an opinion. And like anything else, if you ask for that opinion, he'll give it to you.
That's right. You got to be prepared for the answer,
And
whether you like it or not.
the answer may not be the one you like, but it's the answer. And he's that knowledgeable person. I don't profess to know anyone what's maybe in his little finger, but I rely on him. I'll use an example. I came up with a study bill on the impeachment process.
Okay.
There is no information really that's cut and dried that says A, B, C, D, E, F, G to go through an impeachment process on an elected or official in the government or a judge. And it's mind-boggling when you go down and talk to him and say, okay, here's what I want to do. And he kind of giggled and said, but you can't do that. I said, what do you mean I can't? He said, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You can't do that right now. There is no process.
Oh.
There is no process. The light bulb goes off.
Gotcha.
I have to set that process up. So what I did is I started researching. I had a staffer help me. And we researched for, it must have been a month. And we went clear back to the Historical Society and actually read the legislative minutes of different things that have happened. There's only been like 3 impeachments from 1889, from when Montana became a state, till present. They never really established that process. So I sat down and listening to him say, I can't do that. I had to start from scratch. We went through, and that's the study group, or study bill that we tried to pass. And it's phenomenal when you listen to somebody that's giving you information. It saves you a lot of grief of going down the wrong path and finding out you can't get there from here.
Right.
But again, it's you don't have to be the smartest wolf on the tree down there, but it sure helps to know the ins and outs. It helps to know the people that you need to work with, the staff. You get to working with staff. I've got 2 people that if I need a bill drafted in certain realms, like, well, I'll use bail bond as a good example. I know exactly who to take that question to and say, how do I do this? And he sits down, and he's a lawyer, and he goes through and he starts helping me draft. He said, well, does this do what you want to do? I go through it, and I may not have full knowledge of everything, but at least I can read in plain language, like the Montana Constitution says that we have to write things in plain language. I can follow through and then say, oh, wait a minute, I don't understand this. Help me process this to make sure I'm making sure that when I get to the end of this, it's doing what I want to do. Knowledge is invaluable. I don't think you can ever know too much, but you need to stay in your lane as well.
Right. Oh, I bet.
I said, I'm not a tax guy. Don't want to talk to me about tax because I will get you into deep water. Natural resources covered, no problem. And again, it goes back to that team concept. Everybody works together.
Right.
One of the things I'm pretty well known for is that I've gotten calls from almost day one from my peers that I work with. Hey, I've got a constituent that's got a problem with income tax. Who do I talk to? Oh, hey, just a second. Call this person, director of the Department of Revenue. Here's his first name and his staff. This is the gal who will answer the phone, tell him Steve sent you. And the easiest way to do it is actually to send an email that lists the constituent's information, the constituent's problem, and just send it to the director. Right. You start at the top, work down. He'll send it to whoever he knows will take care of it. So I was pretty well known for if there was an issue, I knew who to contact. Right. And I was actually passing information like that on and mentoring people, the new people that came in, all through the 4 sessions I was there.
That's
And
super cool.
that makes you feel good here.
Yeah.
And it's not being a smart ass, it's not being
Absolutely.
brainiac or whatever. It's just there for the right reasons. That will shine.
Oh, I heard
Definitely
that.
will shine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've gotten to know quite a few of the directors. I'll use that one as an example. Unemployment. There's been many issues with unemployment.
Yeah.
And I'll get a call and have the person email it to me and give me all the information. I'll forward it, and then I'll call or wait for a call. It's usually about 5 minutes. And he said, I'm on it. It'll be fixed in an hour. An hour later, I get a phone call. Hey, we figured it out, got it fixed. Everything's cool and kosher. So far, I've got like a 99.999% fix rate. One issue that I couldn't fix, but I was amazed at the staff in the agency and how they actually approached it. And it was somebody that was developmentally challenged that didn't understand the system at all. And they went above and beyond anything you can even imagine and took care of that issue. And that makes it worth going
Right.
and doing that job.
Yeah.
You don't realize the impact that some of those people can have, good and bad.
Right.
Good and bad. And that's the job of the legislator, that if they're not doing the job, find out why, fix it, and help make sure it never happens again. And there's a few people that are no longer there that didn't want to do it. And problem taken care of. They aren't there anymore. Well, like I say, it's a great job. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of stress, but also like you really enjoy doing, you enjoy the stress of what you do because it's important.
Yeah, and it's rewarding in that when, like constituent issues, when you can make somebody's day, that puts a little spring in your step the rest of the day.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that 100%. Okay, so I have one more question for you. Let's just say if somebody is still kind of like weighing their options on who to vote for, what would your message be to them about what a vote for you means?
Well, that vote is something that is going to pay back the community, as I've done in the last 4 sessions, utilizing that knowledge, that experience. I don't have to relearn everything. I've already got that behind me. I'm a very respected legislator. My voice carries. And I hate to say it, but when I go back to the Senate, I'll technically be a plebe again, starting from the bottom. I've already got the knowledge of what it takes to move up in leadership positions and things like that. But I think that I can bring a lot more to Helena than anybody, just due to the fact that I've paid the price. I've went through that school of hard knocks. I've got the flat forehead to prove it. I don't know too many people that go to bed at midnight, wake up at about 4:30, start reading bills, reading them as I'm cooking breakfast, go to a committee hearing, sit through that, and usually get out just maybe about the time lunch is going to start. Feed my face real quick, run up to the floor, go through the floor session, which could end up running from 1 to 3 hours. And sometimes it runs to where, I've got to be in a committee hearing for the evening, and again, spend time there, maybe eat dinner, maybe not. get out of there, do whatever I've got to do to work with other legislators and answering questions or taking training, reading more bills, eating dinner, reading more bills, falling asleep with the bill on my face around midnight, crawl back into bed, start again. And that's usually a 5 to 6 day week. And we laugh because we get paid for an 8-hour day. My 8-hour days are usually about 16
Yeah.
by the time I get done. And if you're doing it for the money, not a good place to go because
Right.
the money's not there. It's not
Right.
a prestigious moneymaker by any means. And we only go for 4 months, but in that 4 months, you've got 2 years of work.
Oh, yeah.
That's down in
Crammed.
thousands of bills to go through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think my experience is something that will pay dividends as it has already, I think, for Libby. I mean, I brought in last SOC, the Libby Asbestos Superfund Oversight Committee. I was a founding member of that. It actually brought the bill and completed the first step that Senator Chaz Vincent had put into place. He put the money into place, and then I put the policy in. And so I actually worked with that through the interim and through each session to make sure that the remedy that the EPA left for Libby was maintained. And if it wasn't maintained, then find out why, take care of it. I mean, we had some fantastic things happen where asbestos response program for the county, we work in conjunction with each other. I came up with an idea to take the EPA database, which is just this huge database that lists every single property in Lincoln County, lists if it was tested, if it was not tested, if it was tested and didn't have anything on it, if it was tested and cleaned. I mean, there's so many different variables there. And so I asked the question, how many residents haven't been cleaned? Because they spent $650 million cleaning up Libby. How many didn't finish that process for whatever reason? And it was pretty amazing. Come up with 250 residences in Lincoln County
The whole county.
that hadn't been
Right, yeah.
completed, tested, or whatever.
That's
And so what we did is I instructed ARP then to randomly pull out 10 of those residences, start working with each one, delve it down to where do they need to be retested, go out and test them. Was it never tested because the landowner at that time said, I don't want any revenuers on my property, and I wouldn't allow anybody on it. So again, I think the time, the effort, the compassion that I've put in to being the House rep, I think puts me in a unique position to be the best senator to be able to carry on where I started in 2015. So, like I say, been there, seen that. Now I just get a different t-shirt with Senate on it.
Wow. Well, I really, really appreciate you coming here and giving us so much information and taking the time out of your day. And I just really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And that's something that as being a House rep, my phone's always open. Emails are always open. I know I've talked to a lot of different people. It's amazing when you go into Rosar's for a bottle of ketchup and it takes 3 hours to get that bottle.
Yes. Yes.
That does happen. I enjoy that. I
Yeah.
enjoy a lot of the back and forth. Do I have all the answers? Nope. And I don't profess to. Do I have all the solutions? And I don't profess to. But am I going to put in the hardest effort to get the job done? Damn right, I will.
Right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it again. And I can also vouch that he does answer the phone and he responds to emails and he is great to chat with. So if you do ever have questions or, just want to get to know him, I definitely recommend you shoot him an email or give him a call and just ask those questions. Take the time to truly get to know who you're voting for because this is a very important position and you just heard all about the amazing amount of work that Steve has put into this and can put into this for us in the future. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bree.
I appreciate it.